Joe, thank you for joining from vacation. And thanks everyone else. Okay, are we ready?
It's just logging, it's just connecting. All right, I'll see it there. 1 second. And we're live.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, I'll call the meeting to order at 4:04. Before I start, I want to have a roll call attendance, please. Um, Joan, would you please?
Sure.
Thank you.
Tammy Nathan,
Aye, here.
Laura Newstead,
Here.
Judy Barrigas,
Here.
Dave Bushy,
Here.
Troy Clarkson,
Here.
John Flores,
Here.
Joe McGrail,
Here.
Judy Quinn,
Present.
and George Vesvatikas.
Here.
Okay, thank you very much. We have 100% attendance. I really appreciate everyone coming, and I know it would have been nice to do this in person, but it would have been impossible to have a quorum. So here we are. Before I begin, I want to take a moment to address two letters that were sent to the board this afternoon that I literally received at 3:38 p.m. They were from the college's faculty and staff unions relative to today's vote. The letters in question call upon the board to delay our vote to appoint an interim president of the Cape Cod Community College. And further, it calls the integrity and transparency of the board and college leadership into question. I'm not going to read the letters in their entirety. They have been forwarded to the board, as I don't believe that it is in the best interest of moving the institution forward, and I strongly believe that it conflicts with the issues at hand. I also want to note that my reason for not delaying this vote is because I think it seriously jeopardizes our ability to secure the candidate we have before us for discussion. You will notice that President Ellen Kennedy is in the room. The immensely challenging situation that has come to light over the last 6 months is not over. It's not ended yet. It's not over. The report has been with the board for less than a week before the news reports began and are still fresh. And as the college, we have not yet been able to even address the recommendations before us. The work ahead is significant, and we all will need to move forward together. Preventing the college from naming an interim president today does not alleviate the difficult situation, nor does it repair the damage that has already been done. I strongly believe, however, that delaying the appointment of an interim president, particularly delaying the appointment of a seasoned leader with an extensive experience in Massachusetts community colleges, takes us back a step, and someone who has been working in the field for 14 years and hasn't been on hiatus. The Board of Higher Education process for selecting an interim president and a permanent president are, by design, different. The time for open dialogue and having voices heard will come with the permanent search process. My responsibility as board chair is to identify and recommend to the board an interim who can give our college the best chance possible to retain a permanent president that will help us move forward. The appointment of an experienced interim president will allow this college to focus on the search for a permanent president. One of today's letters offers that inclusion and understanding are imperative to rebuilding the trust that has been eroded. I could not agree more. And I am fully committed to ensuring that every member of the college community will have the opportunity to make their voice heard. I have affirmed that in the past and will continue to do so in every public venue where I have the opportunity. I will take this moment to once again reiterate a very important point that has frequently been misconstrued as an obstruction rather than confidentiality. During the course of the investigation that took place, which was an affirmative action discrimination complaint that involved a student and several other parties, confidentiality processes and federally mandated student records protection needed to be followed. That complaint process ended on April 9th, and the college was notified of the details the following day. On behalf of the board, I am very grateful for all those who worked and continue to work to protect the identity and privacy of the student, as these news articles and the breaks in confidentiality are very harmful, not only to our college, but more importantly to the student that bravely came forward and filed the complaint. What is of utmost importance now is an understanding from faculty, staff, students, and the community members that without steady interim leadership, we simply will not be successful in attracting a permanent president who can lead this college the way we need, with openness, integrity, and compassion. It is not lost on me that our students are in the midst of the end of their semesters with commencement less than a month away. Every negative news story and every delay in affirming leadership is a distraction from what should be a joyous time of celebration. And if I sound serious, I'm serious. Today, we do not take this vote. We do not take this vote today as a sign that your voices will not be heard. Instead, we take it as a nod to how much healing must happen here and how much institutional repair is before us. Seasoned leadership is our best path toward rebuilding 4Cs. And we are really excited to have a candidate come forward with the qualities and credentials as President Kennedy. So now that I've said my piece, and this is probably the first time everyone's heard from me since all of those news articles came out. I'd like to go ahead and open the discussion on selection of the interim president and include a vote to recommend appointment to the Commissioner of Higher Education, our selection. But before I go enter into discussion, I thought it'd be really nice to take this time to ask President Kennedy to, if she would like to speak and say a few words and maybe tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chair Glavinsky-Saban, and to the full board. I prepared some very brief remarks, and I think they still address some of the concerns that I've just heard. So I'll go forward with those, and I'm happy to answer anyone's questions. And by the way, just a little quick about me. I was born and raised in Lynn, Mass, and have been a lifelong resident of Massachusetts, living in Lynn and the Berkshires for the past 47 years. I went out to North Dedham State to be a student, and I've remained there ever since. So big move for me to come to the Cape if this were to work out. I am genuinely honored that you would consider me for this role. I also want the members of the campus community who may be watching this right now or who hear about it later on to know that I don't take lightly what you've been going through this year. Should you vote to recommend me, I want you to know that I am not here to paper over what happened or to move past it too quickly. Institutions heal when people feel heard, when leadership is present and transparent, and when trust is rebuilt through actions, not words. That is the work I would be coming to do. I've spent 18 years at Berkshire Community College, 14 of them as president, believing deeply in the mission of community colleges. The lives changed, the doors opened, the students who may have believed that they had no other path forward. I've seen that same mission at work at 4Cs, and I have enormous respect for the faculty, staff, students, and the Board of Trustees who have kept this institution moving forward through an extraordinarily difficult period. I come with no agenda other than stability, service to your students, and doing everything I can to support the college's day-to-day work, a successful search for your next permanent president, and the important preparation ahead for the NECHI self-study. That work takes time, intention, and institutional focus, and I would consider it a priority from day one and a privilege to work with all of you. Should I be selected, I look forward to meeting as many of you as possible before the end of the semester and ahead of my start time. Thank you so much for this opportunity to address you this evening. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you, President Kennedy. Does anyone have any questions or need information more about? Go ahead, Troy.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and welcome, President Kennedy. First, let me say I have one brief question, but I totally agree with the sentiment expressed by the chair that it's important and imperative that we move forward today to provide some continuity. But I think you obviously see, Madam President, that we have a fractured community. And so could you just talk to us a little bit about what you might do in your first 90 days to engage the faculty, the students, the community, our stakeholders, our legislative delegation? I can tell you that you come very highly recommended from contacts that I have in public higher ed in Massachusetts, and I think you'll be a wonderful addition to what I consider a jewel of the public college system in Massachusetts. But share with us just a little bit how you will outreach and engage.
Thank you so much, and thanks for those kind comments. I would also note it was very impressive to see how many of you have direct connection as alumni or people who attended Cape Cod Community College. It was very impressive. I have been thinking about a little. We haven't had a lot of time to think about this, but I have been thinking about an internal and an external strategy for how to move directly and quickly right in. And I see the board playing in both of those camps, being both internal and external. I think it's really important, as I mentioned in my remarks, I'm a firm believer in listening to people and in meeting people. So right from day one, I would probably be, from the moment I arrived, meeting with people, getting to know what their concerns are, the things they're really proud of, the things that need immediate focus, the things that are on their long-term plan, understanding how the campus ticks, so to speak, what's important. Would love to have an opportunity to meet with faculty ahead of the end of the semester, which doesn't leave very much time because then they're off contract and I wouldn't expect them to come in and meet with me during the summer to have those conversations. So it would be important to try to come ahead of a start date to have some time with them. I would very much like to, and then I would like to understand both from you and from your work, Tammy Jacobson and the workforce team, and anyone else who has, there might be, I don't know if you have advisory boards for each of your programs that are external to the campus who need to want to have a conversation about what's happening and where things stand. But I would be interested in meeting with the legislative delegation, the superintendents, the business community, your key partners, both in business and in the municipalities. You have, I think, 4 offsite locations. You have Hyannis, you have the Plymouth, you have the mortuary science at Bridgewater. I would want to spend time in each of those locations and with the faculty and the staff who work in those spaces and understand who needs to be heard quickly and issues that need to be addressed as well. So I have been thinking about this in the time I have. One of the things that's been very interesting and helpful for me is I'm transitioning with the new president to our campus. So I've been spending time with her about how she would meet. She's coming from Minnesota, so she has no grounding in Massachusetts. So we've been strategizing on how she would roll out her introductions to the campus, how she would work with the board and get to know the board members. So I feel like I have this incredible, unexpected view into how this process works from the other side that I've said, oh, we've just developed this whole blueprint that I would bring with me if I were selected to Cape Cod. So before we started this, we just had a shared town hall with Harris Charlier, who is our new president as of July 1st, and had, over 100 of our employees were on that call. And in a week and a half, we have a session just for our faculty. And I'm going to start that session and then I'm going to jump off. And she'll have the time with them to hear directly from them what their specific concerns are, the things that excite them about the campus. Cape Cod Community College, Berkshire and the Cape are the 1 and 2. We're the first 2 community colleges in Massachusetts, and it's a really proud thing for, I think, all of us, both the Berkshires and the Cape, that people would be surprised, I think, to find out that those are the first 2 community colleges. And I think it shows both the similarities. It shows how passionately we feel about we're each the only community college in our catchment area. Like there's no overlap. There's nobody else in the Berkshires and no one else on the Cape that's providing this kind of education and the outreach and commitment. So I would want to shore up anyone who had any concerns that things would be changing, that it's the same wonderful Cape Cod Community College that's been meeting the economic needs of the Cape and providing opportunity and advancement for so many people and families. A generational change, I guess. I don't know. I probably went on too long, but I hope that helps.
No, you didn't. I think that was absolutely phenomenal and covered all the bases that I hoped you'd cover. So I thank you, and I'll yield back to Madam Chair.
Thank you. I think to President Kennedy, I believe you had let me know that you actually were on the board of NETCHI for a while.
Yes, I was a commissioner at NECHI for 6 years, and I was served on the executive committee actually as well. And was one of the presidents who was president for, I think, 26 years in Massachusetts. It made about 30 visits through that process, but thinks that that experience is the best professional development. But I learned so much from serving on the commission about it. And right now, what's very interesting is the Cape might be one of the very first community colleges through a process where they've just changed the standards from 9 standards to 5 standards. So we've all been operating for a number of years in a certain way of thinking about NECHI, and that's changing right as the Cape plans to do its NECHI self-study.
That's great. We are about to enter that time period. I just got my first email asking for asking for contacts. So it'll be helpful to have someone like that. And also a reminder that you also just went through a presidential search. And though you weren't on the committee, or maybe you were, I don't, but okay, I didn't think so. But knowing the steps to follow and having just gone through a very successful process, I think could be helpful to us. And it looks like John, Trustee Flores has a question.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Saban. President Kennedy, first and foremost, welcome to today's session. And I have it's actually a curious question. Having been in education myself for 40 years and recently retiring, I'm just curious, you're presently retiring from Berkshire Community College. Why is it that you want to jump right back in and do this again?
That's a great question. One my husband has asked me a few times. I would share, without oversharing, that a lot of my decision around my retirement, some was personal, but a lot of it was a timing issue. It's interesting, we just talked about NECHI. Berkshire's strategic plan is through 2027, and our NECHI self-study is in 2029. And as I began to think in the last few years what the proper timing would be for my departure from the college, I wanted to make sure that the next president had ample time to learn the campus, to understand what makes I still say what makes the college tick, what are the important issues, who are the future, the emerging leaders on the college campus as we take these next steps. So this next president will have the runway to develop the next strategic plan. They'll have a year to finish out the one that our 5-year plan. They'll have a year to watch that in play, watch the things that the campus has identified and how we address them, and what that leads for the next strategic plan, and be able to put their own imprimatur on that. Because as I shared, sometimes at NECHI, I would obviously, I was always in the room with the community colleges unless they were from Massachusetts, and I would see these poor new presidents coming in, having inherited the strategic plan of a just departing president, and it might not be quite what they would have done if they had been helping to lead the institution through that process. I think the self-study is a really key time to really understand the combination of the strategic plan and the self-study are really very important in my mind to a campus and to setting the institution up for the next successful leap forward of what would happen. So my retirement was a lot predicated on that. As I shared, I've been living in the Berkshires all of these years and have enjoyed that very much. And decided that when this was all happening, and particularly over the last few weeks, that if there was something I could do to be helpful, I would be willing to delay my retirement. My papers are in. I have not rescinded them yet until I see how this all plays out. So I would be pulling back my decision to retire based on how this plays out.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have questions? Go ahead, Trustee Bushy.
Dr. Kennedy, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to meet you. My name's Dave Bushy. I've been on the board a number of years. Continuity of our flagship programs and our new programs is going to be important to all of us. We take great pride in our nursing program, our dental hygienist program, even the funeral services program, and of course, in my wheelhouse, the aviation program. So I just want to make sure that those continue to have life breathed into them and to be fostered. But I really welcome having you. I can feel that kind of steady hand at the helm, and it gives me comfort. So thank you.
Thank you. I'll just quickly say I was at the ribbon cutting for your aviation piece. I was so excited to see that happen and had watched it all come together. And nursing, I know you had some issues a while back. At the same time, we had some issues. So I've lived through that. I said that was perhaps my most challenging moment as a president. You were having some issues at the time, but we had them and we played them out a little more publicly than you did. But I would say, as much as that was the most painful moment in my presidency, it became the most important and growth-filled one. We were able to double the size of our nursing program. We have excellent results on our NCLEX. We have very proud of our faculty in that program. We have competitive searches, which you don't get to say often in the nursing program because people want to come and work at the college. So those are all I fully support. I love, my team would tell you, I love new programs. I love to see us expanding when it's appropriate. It's particularly critical to meet the workforce needs in the community that you serve. I mean, that's what is that's our purpose. That's for our reason for existence, is to be both meeting the workforce needs and the needs of the families and communities of the Cape who use us as a springboard on and off, and maybe off the Cape, but we hope to return to excellent opportunities that would be provided here.
Thank you very much.
Anything further? Go ahead, Judy. Trustee Borregas. Oop, we just lost your face, but we see your hand.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh,
You're muted, Judy.
Judy,
Just
you're on
muted.
mute now. Judy, are you there? Hi, go ahead,
Can you
Judy.
hear
if
me?
you- Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. Dr. Kennedy, thank you so much for making the time to be with us this evening. Truly appreciate it. Value your background in education. So happy that you are from Massachusetts and understand our legislative processes, grants, funding, the financial challenges, and specifically the nursing background. I'm very happy to have that. Chair Sabin, I also want to be sure that those that wrote those letters have some type of response from us. I think they need to be heard. And like you said, part of the challenge and confusion is not knowing what they don't know and not understanding the confidentiality that's had to be maintained. I'd like to understand, I'm sure most of our trustees also want to know how we are going to address those challenges and make those folks feel valued and part of the process. I yield.
I believe that that's all in my first statement, is that this isn't over, and we haven't had the opportunity to respond since all of the information came out last week. So that is going to be, yes, the next steps for the board will be formulating some response to our college community. I have no issue with them asking questions and being a part where it is appropriate, which would be in the long-term search. And it's not the general practice for them to be a part of the interim search. So I'm told and have learned through this process. And I think we stated that in March, at the March 19th meeting. But as far as the rest of the issue and, how we address, like you said, the confidentiality, yeah, we are going to have to, there's more work to be done.
Thank you.
But thank you for bringing it up. Anything else by anybody? If we don't have anything, would like now to end the deliberations and proceed with the vote. So, and President Kennedy, you're welcome to stay, you're welcome to go, whichever you prefer.
I'll jump off and
Okay.
leave you to your vote. I just wanted to mention that I've had the wonderful pleasure of working with Dr. Carlnita Green since she stepped in at first as your administrator in charge and recently as your acting president, and exchanged emails with her. and would look forward to working closely with her over the both for a transition and then in the coming year if this should work out. But thank you so much, and good luck with your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, President Kennedy. So just to let you all know too, that Dr. Green is in full support of this. She has had a relationship, as you just heard, with President Kennedy and looks forward to working with her. So, and I invited her to the meeting, but she's on vacation. So just like Joe's on vacation too, but he came. Anyway.
I thought
I'd
she
like-
was really nice when we met her out in Worcester. You remember Laura? She sat at our table. Yeah, she was very interesting, very easy to talk to. I liked her very much. We talked about the nursing program.
Great. Anybody else have anything to say now that she's not on the call? If not, I'm going to go ahead and have look for a motion that the Board of Trustees end its deliberations and proceed with a vote to select the interim president of Cape Cod Community College. And that would be, our motion would be to appoint to recommend to the commissioner the appointment of President Ellen Kennedy, Dr. Ellen Kennedy, as our interim president of Cape Cod Community College for the period of no longer than a year, up to a year, or until we find a president to come in earlier.
So move, Dave Bushy.
Second, Judy
Second.
Borges.
Okay, can I get a roll call vote? Joan, please.
Tammy Saban,
Aye.
Laura Newstead,
Aye.
Judy Borges,
Aye.
Dave Bushy,
Aye.
Troy Clarkson,
Aye.
John Flores,
Aye.
Joe McGrail,
Aye.
Judy Quinn,
Aye.
George Vespatikis.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. I will be sending a letter to the commissioner tomorrow. Well, no, I'll do it tonight. It's not, the day's not over yet. We'll get a letter to the commissioner. She will not start until July 1st. I should have probably added that in the motion, but it will be in the letter. Her last day at Berkshire is the 30th. So she'll come right over without any interruption to Cape Cod Community College. Very exciting to have a leader from our state who's been working in our state and has all of the state-of-the-art information. So go ahead, David. You're on mute.
Oh, I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank you, Tammy, for all the heavy lifting you've done for the last 6 months. It is very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, and you're welcome. I'm really looking forward to us moving forward into our time of celebration now. So I hope that all of you can be at whatever event you can be. There's several of them coming up. We have a schedule from Joan, and I'm really looking forward to graduation. So thank you all.
Oh, Gina has her
Oh.
hand up.
Go ahead, Gina.
Just one last thing before everyone leaves. Thank you all. Just to close all the loops, I'm just going to suggest, Chair Saban, that we just take one more vote, just for clarity and for the record, which has to do that that typically after that vote happens, that the Board of Trustees, that there's a motion that the Board of Trustees unanimously recommend to the Board of Higher Ed the appointment of Dr. Ellen Kennedy as interim president of Cape Cod Community College, and that the Board of Trustees authorize its chair, Tammy Saban, to negotiate with Dr. Ellen Kennedy over the specific terms and conditions of her appointment as interim president, like start date, salary, etc. I would just suggest that as to close the loop.
Thank you.
And then you can move forward.
Okay. So we've already made the one vote to recommend her. So I guess now it would have to be a second vote to.
So moved. And I'm not
Okay.
going to summarize, but if Joan caught all of that in the
I
motion.
have it.
Okay, good. Thank
I
you.
just missed reading it.
Okay.
So moved. Can I get a second, please, about negotiating the chair having?
Second.
All right.
John
and
Flores,
we need-
second.
Thank you, John. So we'll need a roll call vote.
All in favor, Tammy Saban,
Aye.
Laura Newstead,
Aye.
Judy Borges,
Aye.
Dave Bushy,
Aye.
Troy Clarkson,
Aye.
John Flores,
Aye.
Joe McGrail,
Aye.
Judy Quinn,
Aye.
George Vespatikis.
Aye.
Great. So that passes unanimously too, and so everyone can get on with their day. Yes, John?
Just a quick comment. Want to congratulate George Vasvatakis. He ran a good Boston Marathon the other day.
Congratulations, George.
Yay, George.
Thank you.
Yay.
Appreciate it.
Congrats,
Jeez,
George.
I forgot it was even that time of year.
Yeah.
That's great. Congratulations. Glad
Thank
you're
you.
back
Thank
with
you
for
us
the
healthy.
support.
He had a
Can't beat it.
he had a good run, George.
Thank you. Still
Super.
chasing your times, John.
Woo, that's a challenge. Well, I will now take a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Laura and Judy, first and second.
Okay, all in favor, Tammy Saban,
Aye.
Laura Newstead,
Aye.
Judy Borregas,
Aye.
Dave Bushy.
Aye.
Troy Clarkson,
Aye.
John Flores,
Aye.
Joe McGrath,
Aye.
Judy Quinn,
Aye.
George Vaspatikis.
Aye.
Okay, that's it.
Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. Thanks for your time. Joe, go have your vacation.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.